Hi, I'm Sharon Landon, and welcome to Old Asian Lady. Today, my guest is Helen Lee. She is a Taiwanese American who immigrated to the U.S. with her family at age 6. She shares some of her challenges of moving to the U.S. and how she ended up totally embracing American culture and life. We chat about her decisions moving back to Taiwan, her challenges managing her epilepsy and surgery, her work with nonprofits both in the US and Taiwan, and how she's had to balance her dual cultural identities, navigating life back into Taiwan society as an adult. That really leads me back to, you love this industry and you love your job, and yet you resigned. Was there, you mentioned your parents.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Everything was going my way until when I turned 30. So I remember I was at the DC office one day. It was an important meeting. I think one of the congressmen was there, but all of a sudden, apparently, I had a seizure.
Okay.
And that was the first time I can recall having seizures. Well, I have no memory of the seizure episodes, ever. But then all of a sudden, everybody left the room. And I was just sitting on my own. I'm like, oopsie, did I fall asleep? But then the following morning, one of the staff, came up to me and shut the door. It was so early in the morning. It wasn't even 9 o'clock yet. Usually I have an open door policy. When she shuts that door, I know something major is happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, hi, Mel, what's going on? She sat down. Before she opened her mouth, it was a tear coming down from her eye. She was like, I couldn't sleep because of you yesterday. And I said to myself, what do you mean?
What?
She was like, because of what happened to you at the meeting. And this is how I gradually understand that apparently I have a major seizure. And so, I mean, it was definitely something new to me because I never had any seizures or anything. So she left the room. The first thing I did, I picked up the phone and called Chicago. I called my mom. And I said, Mom, is there something you're not telling me? Have I ever had seizures? And she said, no. What do you mean? I said, well, a colleague just said I had a really big seizure yesterday during a meeting here in the office. She was like, no, I think you should go see a doctor. So the world changes from that day on, because apparently I've been having complex partial seizures. And
What is that? A complex?
Complex partial seizure.
Okay, and that was the meeting that you didn't know, or you're talking about you had other little seizures, but you didn't know they were seizures.
Well, I didn't know I was having these seizures before then, right? So then, of course, I went to see a neurologist and things like that through testing and everything. He was like, well, you have epilepsy. I said, how?
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden? And then we started to do further research. Apparently, and I recall I had meningitis when I was 8 months old, like severe bacterial meningitis growing up here in Taiwan. And I almost died from it. So the doctors here in Taiwan at the time were telling my parents, say, prepare yourself. And apparently the American troop flew in a new box of vaccinations. And I was almost the first batch to be vaccinated. Well, it was the antibiotics.
Wow.
Or something like that.
Right.
And then, so from what I recall, my mom was saying my high fever subsided within minutes. Well, hours actually. And then I recovered. So we never thought about anything about that. And apparently the meningitis had impacted my hippocampus on the left lobe. It created sclerosis. So it's like a snowball impact. Apparently, I may have minor seizures throughout that 30 years.
Oh, but
But then each time there's an episode, more brain cell dies. So it's like a snowball effect. And then by the time, 30 years later, it has snowballed and impacted and started to become apparent.
wow. So if looking back, your mom never thought of any times that maybe you had
No,
those
I
little
was
minor
no,
things that they
apparently
didn't
not.
know.
Apparently not.
Yeah, so negligible, so small, nobody would notice. Wow.
I mean, like, I've been driving since the age of 18,
Yeah.
you know, and so all this, it's something I was never expected. And that adds the other question of, you know, I need to be myself. I mean, it's just, so from that point on, seizure became it's almost like tattoo. It was tattooed onto me. I mean, we get to the point where if I stop taking the medication, I can have up to 10 epilepsies, seizures a day, up to.
Wow.
I mean, I have tried that. I mean, it really wears me out.
You mean you tried it just because you thought,
I'm just
I'm
curious.
gonna just, okay,
You know,
curious.
I'm just curious because the medication dosage continues to increase because our body adjusts. And a few years after that, we get to a point, the flesh point was, I already maxed out the standard.
Yeah, where it was, okay.
So I need to consume way much more anti-seizure medication than what the FDA allows.
Right.
But then I have to do what I have to do. That creates a lot of problem. Kidney dialysis, liver damage, because these are chemicals. But it's the only way I know how to live.
Right.
Because the medication covers 80% of the time. There's still that 20% of me having seizure, but it cut down significantly. So another reason why I have to be thankful and grateful, it's out in the West, people understand and respects epilepsy as a medical challenge. But here in the East, I see more of something they try to shy away from. It's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
It's scientific, if you understand it scientifically and medically. So, yeah, so with that being said, by the time I was 38, 2011 was the hard year because it's becoming severe. My colleagues were always there when I'm in the crowd, mingling, networking. Whenever I raise my hand like that, they were spotted right away. They'll come right over and say, excuse me, we need to borrow Helen for a sec. They will whisk me away, hide me behind the curtain, put me in a closet, and hold me until my seizure subsides.
So you were actually able to know when a seizure was going to come?
Yes and no. Aura, it's the sensation that comes split seconds before.
Oh, wow.
But not necessarily the case, because sometimes the severity of the seizure is so impacted. I would not know a thing until I have burns on my arms from having seizures while making steaks. I get cuts and bruises, and, you know, because I blacked out.
Yeah.
I have strangers picking me up from the sidewalk outside of the White House because I lost my sense of semi-consciousness. I even have total strangers in fine tailored suits whispering me, saying, can I walk you to your office? Where's your office at? The minute I stepped out from the train, because I was having epilepsy seizures on the train.
Wow.
But you understand how blessed I am. My train buddy, voluntarily, to be my train buddy for 6 years, every morning. Look, he's a Korean descent. He worked for the federal. He was a federal agent. And he's one of those that carries his personal badge and ammunition, because he's on the tactic force. He cannot tell me what his assignments were that day or that week rather, but then usually we will depart. We go to separate buildings after we get off the train the minute we got to DC, and then he may call me at the at my desk and said, "Hey, I need to go to Hawaii now." Hawaii, it's a little nickname we have, because he cannot tell me where he's heading off. I mean, he doesn't understand when the assignment will come.
Yeah.
But the minute it comes, he actually called me up in my desk across DC and said, "I'm going Hawaii now. I'll see you when I get back." I said, "Oh, Hawaii again?" He said, "Yes, you had a seizure this morning. Remember? Take care of yourself while I'm away, and see you when I see you." For 6 years, I have that angel sitting next to me. He even canceled his Washington Post paper, one time. I mean, I thought it was funny because I always pick up my Washington Post at my doorstep as I run for the train. I'll be sitting there reading the paper, and then this train buddy of mine will be popped right down, and his hand goes like this. It's like a husband-wife team, or what? He was like sports.
Yeah.
So from that day on, it's been sports, and I just pass it off to him.
Yeah.
But then he has the heart to say, "You have a seizure today.
Yeah.
Remember, I asked you to take a nap." So the likelihood for you to have continuous seizure this week, it's tremendous. I'm going Hawaii now. I can't talk.
Yeah.
But I will see you when I get back.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see the American beautiness of it?
I know, right?
I mean, for crying out loud, he's not even American. He's an Asian American. but enough said.
Yeah, but you can't say that. Asian American,
I know.
That is like,
No. It's
okay,
a joke. It's a joke.
I know it is, but yeah. But the thing is,
did you see the beauty of it?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, during this whole process, now you've already talked about 8 years that you knew that you had it. What did you feel about it? I mean, what was your thinking? Were you like, oh, okay, this is me, I'm totally accepting it? Did you ever go through a period like, why me? Why,
I do cried about it occasionally out of frustration. Most likely it's the minute I hurt myself again.
Yeah.
I mean anger because I can't take swim lessons, because you know why? Drowning, it's a big issue. I cannot do this, I cannot do that. Right. Every day when I stand on the train platform, I have to remind myself I have to be 5 feet away, because that's a practice.
Yeah.
Because I might have seizure right there. I'll fall overboard and get killed. So there's a lot of new rules I need to comply for my own well-being. But I am a very reasoning person. I never really take that into full emotion. It is what it is. It is what it is. So be it.
Yeah.
So be it.
So you had to resign. You said it was your choice, and that's when you said you guys came back to Taiwan.
No, what happened was my husband surprised me because he understands the upcoming of the challenges I'll be facing in the corporate sector.
In the corporate sector, what do you mean?
In the nonprofit industry, in the office setting.
Okay.
Because continuously
because
I'm having
of your
more and more
seizures,
seizures. Right.
Yeah.
And then and the stress, how much it will also trigger and impact the possibility of more seizures. So he just decided that it will do, it's a win-win if he brings me back to Asia to retire, for an early retirement, so that I have an easier life and I'd be closer to my parents and I have the opportunity to explore the culture that I missed out. So, yeah. He actually made that announcement 2 weeks before our packing up.
Oh, really?
I remember.
How is that possible?
I remember my husband declared to the trip to me August the 7th. And he said, well, I got a job offer in Taiwan. It's very interesting.
Okay, so at least he had a job
Yes.
offer already.
But then he pursued that route because the benefit of doubt that I might be easier here in Taiwan.
Ah, right.
So then he said to me, we're leaving on the 15th. And I was like, so I'm going to miss Christmas, because this is August the 7th. I remember that because it was 2 days after my birthday. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm going to miss out Thanksgiving. I remember, Thanksgiving is a big day in our family because I always have to be home back to my parents' arm because that's the day I broke their heart so many years ago.
That note. Yeah.
So I always intend to make sure I get myself to my parents.
It's another promise to yourself then.
Yes.
Right. Yes. That you need to keep. Yeah.
And they will cry every year. I show up at their doorstep. And I mean, it's just very romantic in a way. But then, I'm like, so I'm going to miss out Thanksgiving. He was like, yep. I'm like, I don't need to decorate the Halloween. I'm like, you can't do this. I mean, I only have 2 months to work on. He was like, I didn't tell you anything about Halloween. I'm like, well, you cannot do this on September because we're already in August. And he gave me that look. He was like, okay, go pack. And we ended up in Taiwan.
So your parents moved back, or they were still in the States?
They moved back 2 weeks before we did.
So he told them
planned.
about it. Oh, it was already planned by them.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the minute my husband heard about it, because he wanted to pursue his entrepreneurship out in the East, because that's where the big arenas is,
So everything kind of melded together.
So yes, I landed here in Taiwan September 1.
And so are you still, I mean, because you mentioned before, did you ever have surgery with your epilepsy? That was in the States or that was here?
So apparently, I was running out of options in terms of anti-seizure medications. So surgical removal of the hippocampus on my left lobe was the last alternative.
Just for our listeners, can you please explain a little bit of what hippocampus is for people that don't know?
Yes. Hippocampus is the most inner part of our brain. Just like the kidneys, of course, we have the left brain and the right brain. We have hippocampus on each part of it. What it does mainly, it's to help commute conversations, retrieve memory, and most importantly, how to convert short-term memory and convert that into a long-term memory and put it into our brain. So it's a very, very critical function machine.
I guess, yeah.
So sometimes when things happen, knock on wood, when you need to opt out one hippocampus, we can always hope the other functioning hippocampus can pick up the task and do multitasking. So apparently the seizure complications I've been having all this time, it's because of the sclerosis of the left lobe hippocampus from, and most likely triggered by the meningitis I had when I was only 8 months old. So with that being said, we had to fix the problem. And the last alternative is the removal of the hippocampus completely, the hippocampus and its surrounding tissues. But there's always a debate of, and the risk of, losing memory completely.
Wow.
Because
if you're losing only one side even.
Well, you may lose partial of the memory.
Right.
It's the converter and the storage compartment too.
They work back and forth together?
No, I don't know in great details at the professional level how to explain this to you, but when you're down at one, you're down partially.
Yeah.
But when the time comes, when there's no any alternative, that needs to be done.
Okay, so you guys...
Otherwise, did you know the death of seizure complications? It's the sudden death. The ratio is 1 to 1,000. So people with epilepsy do have the risk factor of sudden death. And from my understanding, it was 1 to 1,000 ratio. But what's even more scarier, it's the accidental death. Having a seizure creates a lot of possibilities. Drowning. And I personally was involved in a car accident. Thank goodness the lady did not die.
Right.
But I rammed her. I rammed her
during
vehicle,
a seizure.
because I was having seizure behind her. I already took my medicine. Like I said, medication covers 80% approximately. There's still that 20% with a mark, with a question mark. So yeah, that's seizure complication. But because hippocampus is so critical in our daily living, we had to go through various different tests. Georgetown Hospital confirmed that I flunked within 5 minutes of the testing. What happened was they numbed my left lobe. They gave me a first grade reading book and asked me to read. I'm sorry. I could see the alphabets. I could see the color. I could see the text. But I cannot comprehend. I don't know how to read it. So they cut it off within the first 5 minutes. All right, they say, thank you, we're done. And I remember the entire office, they were waiting for me to report back to them of how the test goes. I remember I walked into our office door and they're all poking their head out. And I shook my head and I cried. I cried around the spot because it's still, I lost my last hope. And I just shook my head. And they all came up and hugged me and said, it's okay, we'll work something out. You see, I remember that. I remember who was in the room. And yeah, that's the beauty of the American culture. So now that that's no longer an option, I just have to live my best until the day comes. Whether I got into accidental death or, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. So you guys opted then to have surgery.
So that's the reason why I was not an applicant for the surgery, because I flunked out the test.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Okay.
So that's when my husband started to think about, okay, now what's the alternative? Not in hope to get more surgery, but, what's the alternative of a better living for the rest of the time I have.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we ended up in Taiwan too. But because I can only carry 6 months supply of anti-seizure medications, that's actually 2/3 of my luggage because I upped the dose that much.
Was it because you guys thought that Taiwan doesn't have the medication?
We don't know what we were walking into.
Yeah.
But I just need to make sure I get the most supply of, which is 6 months, according to the law. Law of Maryland, at least. So then the minute we settle in here, and being luckily, my husband was teaming up with one of the major hospitals here. So immediately I had to look for and find a new neurologist who can continue to supply and monitor me until whenever. And what they said, they evaluated my case and they said, we could do this. We think we can work on you. I said, what do you mean? They said, we have a very high success rate of hippocampus removal. I say, yes, but according to Georgetown, they said, let us reevaluate. How's that? I'm like, of course. For the remaining upcoming 6 months, I've been in and out of the hospital here in Taiwan. I have to tell you, I have to count my blessing because this is really opening up my eyes. My first roommate, because there have been times where I need to come in and stay for a week so they can do testings and do all this monitors and everything on me and watch my seizure happening. And so my first roommate, she was only 3. Brain cancer. She already had surgery because I could see this ginormous scar on her forehead. First day of me settling in the afternoon, it comes a group of physicians, her physician. And I thought to myself, what is this kid up to? She was playing with her iPad at the time, and she started to scream and wail when she see her doctors coming in. Oh, she was doing her chemo. She knows it's coming. And I thought to myself, you know what? What a brat. I mean, come on. I just threw IV. I mean, we all have the IV all connected on everything. What's the point? I mean, what's the fuss? You know what? I have never, ever could imagine such a small belly of hers can vomit it so much. So it was the side effect of her chemo. Now, long after of her IV injection, she started to throw up. And this is Mike. I'm like, wow.
It's something that you're supposed to have to go through?
Well, we didn't know what, they're still evaluating me. But then I just never realized that, wow, comparing to a lot of little kids, I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
I don't have to go through what she's going through. But then, another time I was inpatient. It was a mom with epilepsy. This is the first time I see
someone else have one.
And how I would look when I'm in public.
Yeah.
It was not pretty.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, I mean, I really cried that day because I think to myself, God, I look so ugly. And I have so much respect for the American in DC area. If you see somebody all of a sudden just kind of like stood around in a circle, covering, it could be because that person is having epilepsy or have some sort of accidental happening.
They're just shielding.
Yes, the shielding.
Yeah.
And this is something that me and my husband has started to initiate that here in Taiwan. We have seen a child in public, mom and dad holding this child in their arms because he was having a seizure in public in a busy train station. My husband and I, we look at each other, we're like, oh. So we just kind of walked over and covered ourselves and it's kind of showing them. And because it's a very dignified action to take. That's the beauty of the American culture. So I like to spend a lot of effort trying to introduce a lot of goodness to the local culture here. I'm not saying they're not well. It's just.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at things, and when you're not been exposed to that type of influence,
it doesn't mean they don't care. It just they don't know how to react upon.
Yeah. Because like you said, in Asian cultures, it's a lot about losing face, and it's a lot about they don't want to be involved. I'm not saying that. I mean, a lot of things like that happen. If somebody's screaming for help in the States, sometimes people just walk. But then there are people that'll come up and help. But in terms of Taiwan, maybe, I don't know if there's...
Taiwan people are very, very compassionate. I have to tell you that. I'm not denying that. No, it's just the action it requires just needs to be introduced.
Yeah.
More commonly.
Yeah. So
then so I was qualified for the surgery.
Okay. Amazing.
My God, this is the best gift God has ever given to me. Do you understand how excited I was? I mean, my mom and dad were crying their heart out on the morning of. But then I said to myself, God, before that, you know what's the best part? Shaving my head.
Wait, did you end up? Oh, yeah, because you have to have the surgery. It's not like you had chemo.
Right. So like a month before, I said to myself, I am going to get an Afro perm. I want to get that Afro perm before they shave it off. Come on. I think I will look so beautiful with an Afro perm. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it. You know why?
It's not that texture.
No, you know why?
Why?
I was playing with my hair on a weekly basis. I was cutting it too short.
Oh,
I bobbed it.
yeah.
And so I went to a hairdresser. I'm like, okay, give me the Afro perm. And she was like, you need at least 6 inches. I'm like, what? So,
A bob is kind of 6 inches.
so, but anyway, no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. But anyway,
Yeah,
so
so
that's something I have to regret about, not be able to get an Afro perm.
you can still do it.
No, I don't. No, I'm not going to do it now. No, 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 no. You're kidding
yeah.
me?
So
No.
why is I mean your husband is in the medical industry profession. Why is it that in the States you're just out of running?
I don't know.
I wonder if it's because I don't know. Taiwan is so many people think that it's still a backward country, etc. Because they've never been here. They don't know.
Not in medical.
So they don't realize that there's a lot of advancements that Taiwan medical, industry has done, even with the COVID stuff and how they handle everything. So, so was it an experimental type of thing?
No, they were confident. Listen,
so
if I'm a regular patient, then I start to doubt about are they using me as a guinea pig or to work their technical skill. But because my husband is well known in the medical profession, they even have 7 surgeons summoned up to have a meeting with him, not me, explain to him how they're going to operate and do all this.
Right.
So, I seen their confidence and I said, please go ahead. I have confidence in you too. So the whole surgery took about 9 hours. And then I just remember right before they masked me, they were like, okay, count to 9. And I think I passed out. I felt nauseated and passed out after 2, before 3. And then I woke up. With a sound, it's a rattling sound. I couldn't open my eyes because they have the whole, it was a big process. And they even removed my jaw because the tendon of the jaw, its position up to the temporal, where that big bone was cut out and take out.
What do you mean they had to remove your jaw?
Well, because
they had to unlock it.
No, because the jaw, the manipula, if I remember the name of the bone, it's being attached with a tendon.
Oh, so they had to unattach it.
Right. Well, the tendon was placed upon the temporal area. And because they need to cut open a size of a baseball.
Whoa.
Because they need to have the surgical equipment to be in at the most part of the brain. So long
you
story
had a
short,
hole in your skull.
it was the size of a baseball.
Oh.
But you know what though? I don't remember any of this. I mean, I just remember a rattling sound next to my right ear because I was leaning. I was at the ICU. Apparently, I was in the ICU. And the nurse, the angel, said to me, whispering, she was like, oh, you're up. You hear the sound, and I hear the rattling sound. And I just mumble. And she was like, you will love me pretty soon. Because this is where you're going to puke. You will start vomiting because of the withdrawal of the anesthesia.
So was the rattling, was the telltale?
No, it was a sandwich bag.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
So she put a plastic bag next to your ear and you thought it was something
next to my cheek.
Next to your cheek, and you thought it was
saliva because pretty soon.
Oh.
I mean, I have nothing to vomit from.
Right.
But but still.
Oh, I thought because of your surgery, something was rattling in your brain.
No. I could hear it, and I couldn't open my eyes because it was all swollen. No, it was all swollen. It was coming out of,
Oh.
And so then she was like, well, this is ICU. Yeah. You'll be here for a day for observation. And I thought to myself, ooh, ICU. So I lived.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was so satisfied. And I just went back to sleep.
Wow.
And waking up later, I don't know how long, but then, and then I was like, oh, ICU. I want to see what ICU looks like. And I took a glance, and all these people, all tube, and it was just bright and clean. And then I stayed there for a day, and then being dispatched to the regular room and recovery from that point on.
How long did it take your recovery? I mean,
why don't you ask me how many staples I have to be removed?
Oh.
28.
28 staples. So did they put the hole back in your
Well, because they have to
back?
put their skull back and stabilize it with platinums.
Okay, so that's
The
where.
platinums.
Oh,
No. Because they have to cut the skull. They have to cut it open
okay.
superficially.
Yes.
So then the scar was not small.
Right.
So the skin needs to be stapled together for it to start to grow back. But yet the staples needs to be removed before everything's firm
Right.
and set. So one day my neurologist showed up and say, okay, it's time. I said, it's time for what? It's time to unstable you. I said, what are you going to unstable me with? He was like the one you see at the stationery store. It's the staple removal. I'm like, can I see it? And he was like, there's nothing to see. I was like, I want to see it. I have the right to see. So it was kind of funny. It was one of those staple removal. Yeah. So they had to unplug. And he said it wasn't going to be painful. It was such a liar.
You didn't have anesthesia when he took...
No.
It's what is it with Taiwan? Is because when I go to the dentist, and in the U.S. we have anesthesia all the time. Doesn't matter. You have a little thing, you put anesthesia, and then they're like, oh, most people don't ask for anesthesia, and I'm thinking to myself, give me anesthesia. I don't care. I don't want to feel pain.
No, he was like,
so for removing your staples, he didn't.
He was like, it's just a staple removal. See. And then he was like, here, let me test you on the first round. And then the first one, of course, it doesn't really hurt that much. But then later on, it starts to get into, but anyway.
Oh, I screamed. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I wasn't really nice to him that day.
So,
yes.
So how many years ago was this then that you had 11. Your procedure? 11 years. And do you feel that, are there any after effects or anything?
I have to say,
are you cured?
I have to say yes and no. But most importantly, does it really matter? Does it really matter? Look, I am currently seizure-free, knock on wood, because that's 40%. According to their study, 40%, less or slightly less, will be able to survive 5 years seizure-free. Majority of times, they will reduce the frequency of seizure complications and the symptoms of, but there's still a few, 40%, that will be the lucky ones. And up to this point, I'm still seizure-free. Do you understand why I really have to devote more of my time to pay back to the society?
Yeah.
There are days when I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just go over to the hospital. I will hunt for people in wheelchairs with the
Let me help you.
No, with the new staples.
Oh, with new staples. Oh, and you're going to tell them the pain that's going to be coming?
No, because 100% of the time, they're so depressed and sad. They just don't have any lights in their eyes. They have no vision of what the future holds.
Right.
And the positive impact.
Yeah.
It can't generate.
Yeah.
So this is when our January walked over. I'm like, I think your doctor is different from mine, because mine was hideous. Mine was ugly. Look at the curve. Yours is pretty. It's almost like tying a bow tie on it too. And they give me that look. And I was like, yeah, I got my hair a year ago. Who's your doctor? And this is when the child and the mother will be so quiet and start to listen to me. And because I want them to see what they can also accomplish if they recover fully. It's just the positive thinking, because that's what I can do, because I can testify that. I'm not sure if she will be that 40%, but it doesn't really matter, does it? They don't need to. We don't need to think that far ahead. It's what they need at the moment.
Yeah.
Is the positive impact. So I've been doing that all these years.
Wow.
Amazing. Because, yes, it's painful. So I never regret or doubt that or scream. Although I do cry about it occasionally when I was at the bottom of the pit of why me, why I have to get myself burned. I got scars all over because of the epilepsy while making dinner. I fry my arm while frying pork chop. Or why is that I look so embarrassing in public at CVS? People left me up, just like, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's part of the package.
Yeah. What a story. So I'm going to end on that. But before we go, we're at the wow portion of my show, which is Words of Wisdom. And I'm just wondering if you have anything that you would want to say that you've learned throughout the years or through this experience that maybe you can share with our listeners.
One thing I have to remind everybody, don't fuss over the little things.
Yeah, don't sweat the small stuff.
No, don't fuss over little things because it's nothing. If you still be able to breathe, you're able to maneuver around, you still have a mind of your own. You have the freedom of be who you are. Why fuss over the little things? Because it's not important. There's something more important than that, which is living. Be able to live. Be able to enjoy your everyday. Life is so fair. God is so fair. Everybody has 24 hours a day. It's how you pursue that, how you want to live that, how do you want to utilize that, and how to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So,
I love it that you just said life is so fair, because most people will say life is not fair, deal with it. But the way that you're talking about it really changes the perspective around that. You're right. Everybody has the same 20. It's just a different perspective.
it's equality.
Yeah.
Life is equal.
Yeah.
Depends how you look at it, but honestly, life is equal. So utilize it. Have fun with it. Because we don't really appreciate its existence when we already experience its non-existence. You know what I'm saying?
You're being like your dad, philosophical. That's really interesting.
He brainwashed me in a way, I guess. Although he never said that, but I think that was the message that he's...
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something that your dad would have said to you. So you did learn what he was teaching you, but...
Or brainwashed.
Yeah, okay. But
I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that.
Helen, thank you so much for coming on this show.
It's my pleasure.
And sharing your story.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's just, overwhelming at times. And I just want to thank you all for coming to join us on this episode of Old Asian Lady, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.